Okay, we are live on Facebook, live on YouTube, live on Instagram through um, at the Janay Show Instagram. Sorry, y'all, that the lighting is kind of dim. I do not have my ring light with me. So, and the sun is going down. So, my apologies on the lighting. However, in this video, I want to discuss how to be more excellent. And so I've taken some notes here. And if you're watching, feel free to share where in the world that you are watching the Janay Wells Show. Have one person on YouTube. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to get started here. All right, ways to be more excellent. So, number one is show up early and not on time. I don't know if any of you are like this. So for me, I like to be early. This way, if there is any delay or anything that I do not anticipate that is coming, I can kind of, avoid it or have like that grace period, right? And something that the Lord has been helping me to work on because most of the time I'm on time, right? But there are times and there are days, right, that I'm not always on time. And even just being like a couple minutes late, it bothers me. It bothers me. And I do believe that being on time is a part of excellence. And how you show up is also a part of excellence. And so that's something that I have to continue to, even for myself, just remind myself, this is why I'm always setting so many alarms. I gotta put things in my calendar, but if I don't put things in my calendar, I'm not gonna remember. And so yeah, that's number one. Show up early and not on time. Number two, to receive feedback. A lot of times, whether it's from work, whether it's from our spouse or a friend, whatever scenario, we are receiving feedback. And sometimes we don't always know how to hear and listen to that feedback. Sometimes we can view it out of the lens of rejection. If we're experiencing some if we experience rejection that we haven't healed from, that can show up when someone is giving us constructive criticism, when someone's giving us feedback. We may feel like we're always being attacked. And so something that I do to help people overcome that is to really focus on what is it that the person is saying. Don't add anything else to what they're saying. Look at it exactly what they're saying and use that as your evidence, or as what as a base. Because sometimes we can like, oh well, this is what they meant, but it's like, is that what they said? How do you know that that's literally what they meant? So sometimes, and it's in psychology and counseling, we call it cognitive distortions. You guys have probably heard of them. There's catastrophizing, always thinking the worst case scenario, all or nothing, or black or white thinking, um, minimizing. The list goes on and on and on. So I want to encourage you to receive feedback and to ask about feedback. Like figure out, okay, like what are the areas that maybe I'm not so strong in that I can improve upon? What are things that I need to do so that I can show up and I can be a better person, a better wife, a better husband, a better friend, a better brother, sister, whatever your situation is. There's always room to improve. Whenever you have gotten to the point where you think that you have arrived, you really haven't arrived. And so some of there's just some people that you can't tell them anything. You can't tell them anything because it's like nothing you say will sway them. They have their mind set on whatever it is. And a lot of times with those people, you just have to just be like, okay, you can't really. And I call it when people have a spirit of beg to differ. Like sometimes you can't like go back and forth with someone that is so inflexible and unwilling to allow a different perspective. As David Burris says, permission to think differently. Permission to think differently. Um, and so I think another person, I can't think of his name, he'll ask, can I submit something for your consideration? Right? And so number 3, cultivating your craft. So how do we cultivate our craft? Simply, sometimes it's just as simple as doing research and figuring out, okay, what are the areas, like I said, the areas that you need to work on. What is it that I can maximize? Y'all, I'm a maximizer, so especially with my time, I'm very funny about my time, and who I give my time to. And I'm a maximizer, so even when I'm like in the area around town, I'm trying to maximize. I'm like, okay, what else do I need to get done in this area so I don't have to come back to this area anytime soon? So I'm a maximizer. And so figuring out how to cultivate your craft. For some of you, it might be that you need to take classes or do workshops to increase your skill level, to sharpen your skills. Number 4, go the extra mile. Go the extra mile. Don't do the bare minimum. Don't do what is required of you. Successful people, most successful people, they go above and beyond. They are extraordinary, not just ordinary. They're not just average, right? They show up early, they stay late, they do more than what's asked of them, even when they're not getting paid for it, even when it's no extra benefit or advantage to them. A lot of times they show up, they do the work, and a lot of times they do it without complaining. That's another thing. How to be excellent, to not complain, and to do things. This is going into number 5, doing things from a pure heart and from a pure mind, having a good mindset. The word also tells us to think of those things that are pure, that are noble, that are lovely, that are just, that are honorable. Think on these things, right? And what are your motives, right? What are your motives? A lot of the times people desire to be seen and to be recognized and to be rewarded. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. Um, However, sometimes people can do it because they want, oh, look at me, look at me. But what do you do when people are not looking? What do you do when no one sees the extra work that you do? What is the attitude that you're doing the work in? That's a good one. What is your attitude while you're working? Are you complaining the whole time? Some of you are asking God for greater responsibilities in your job and you're not showing up on time. You're not doing what's being told of you. You're complaining. And a lot of the times we want something, and I remember reading something that was like, when you catch yourself complaining or you catch yourself frustrated, remember that this is a place that you're in. More likely is a place that you've prayed for, that you asked God for. You asked God to have that job and now you have it and you're not satisfied. You asked God to have a car, a certain car. You have that car and now you're not satisfied. A lot of times it's people want to keep up with the Joneses, right? You ask God for that house, and now all you keep thinking of is, oh, look at these houses on Instagram and look at the houses that my friends are buying and this and that. And comparison is such a thief of joy. And looking at others, and the Bible also tells that we shouldn't covet what our neighbor has. We shouldn't covet what one another has. And so I would also encourage you to have a pure heart when it comes to the things that you have. Another scripture is, to whom much is given, much is required, right? To whom much is given, much is required. And so I have my Bible here, and I am going to find a verse. Let's see, it's somewhere in here. I have all my tabs. And this is also why I like reading Proverbs a lot, because it talks about wisdom and it talks about character and it talks about ways to be excellent as well. Okay, so I think what I wanted to share with you all. Okay, so yeah, this was what I just shared with you. Philippians 4, verse 8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. And then it goes on to say, what you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. Right? So God is reminding us to be focused on the things that are lovely, the things that are pure, the things that are excellent. Okay, so next one is Colossians. Let's see, Colossians chapter 3, verses 23 through 24. Let's see, 23. Okay, I skipped a page. Okay, Colossians 23. Okay. I don't know if this is exactly the one that I wanted to share. Hold on one second, guys. Okay, found it. I was getting mixed up. Okay, Colossians 3, verses 23 through 24. Whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. And so that's another thing. So, like, a lot of the times we work onto man and we don't work onto God, and God is the one that gives promotion. And so a lot of times we are looking for a human being to give us that promotion when promotion comes from God. And so, are you faithful in what you're doing now? It says in scripture that he who is faithful in the little things can be trusted with many things. And so if you're not faithful with the little that you have, if you're not faithful with the little responsibility that you have, if you're not faithful with the little money that you have, if you're not faithful with the little time that you have, can God trust you with more time, with more money, with more responsibilities? Because a lot of times we want to go to a certain level, but we don't always realize that in those increased levels that there is more responsibility, that there's more warfare that's attached to it, that is more that we must manage. And so being a good manager over what God has given us is definitely something that we should be abiding in. Okay, so I think, ladies and gents, I think that's all that I have for this live. And if you all could list in the comments one key takeaway, what is one thing that you took away from this? What is one thing that you have learned? Or even one thing that maybe has surprised you. And so I want to thank you all for watching the Janay Wells Show. Yeah, this time I got my cue cards. And my outfit matches the room. Can y'all see? This tie that was made by Jean. I think I've been sharing a lot of her ties in my Instagram and on YouTube. I need to put it in the comments on YouTube as well, but it matches kind of like the birds in the background. But yes, I intentionally matched my outfit to match this room. Yep, I sure did. And so I want to thank you all for tuning into the Janay Wells Show, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.